So this video is going to be about installing your peep sight. This is my old bow. I took everything off it to put it on my new bow since stuff is expensive. But going into this new season, I figured I would have a primary bow and a backup bow. So that's what I'm going to be setting up here. And like I said, first video is going to be about installing your peep sight. First thing you're going to need is a bow press. They are expensive. Some of these new bows have these notches in the limbs right here, and you can't use a lot of the older presses. I don't know if you could see that right in there, but some of the older presses just press on the limb, but you're going to need a press that actually conforms to those notches, just like that. So let's get this bow pressed and start moving. I did mark my peep sight location on my string when I took it off, so that's going to cut down on a lot of the time. So first thing you want to do is you want to press the bow, and you don't want to press the bow too much. You're going to have two different color strings, and the first thing you want to do is you're going to want to part them, right? You're going to get all, in this case, you're going to have all the brown strings on one side and all the green strings on the other side. And what I like to do after I part them, I just like to put some in there just to keep them apart until I get my peep sight. Just take one more look, make sure they are parted, and they are. Got our two strings separated, and we have our peep sight. We're ready to set it. One of the most important things when you're doing it's very simple, but you got to keep a few things in mind. It has two grooves on each side of it. There's one and there's two. So each groove is going to have a different colored string sitting in it. So there's two grooves, and we have two colored strings, a brown string and a green string. One of those grooves is going to catch the brown string, and one of those grooves is going to catch the green string. So we got them separated. We got our bow pressed. We're going to part these two strings with our fingers, and we are going to take our peep sight, and we are just going to lay it in between those two strings so they sit in those, so it sits in those grooves. Just like that. We're going to make sure it lines up with the marks we had for it, and it does. And each side of the peep sight is not made equally. There is a side that is supposed to be facing you, and there is a side that is supposed to be facing away from you. You'll be able to figure that out fairly quickly. You'll put it on. If you set it wrong, you're going to draw your bow back, and you are not going to be able to look through it at all. So we have our peep set. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to get our serving on. Next step is we're going to serve both ends of our peep. So some people have a jig for this. I like to do it by hand. We're going to get our serving, and we're going to cut off about, I'm going to say that's 15 inches. You don't need 15 inches, but I like a little more to work with. So first things first, we're going to cut off about 15 inches of serving. We have our serving cut. It's at about 14 inches. First thing we're going to do is we're going to lay our serving on our bowstring, just like that. Have maybe an inch and a half, inch hanging over that we're going to wrap over. So we're going to take our serving. We're going to try and do this as close to the peep as possible. We're going to make one wrap, two wraps, three wraps. I usually like to do 6 or 7. 4, 5, 6, and now you can see we're wrapping over this tag end of serving right there. We're at 6. Let's do one more. Do 7. All right, perfect. So now we're going to lift this tag end up, and we're going to continue wrapping, but not over it. I'm going to do, I think, about 8 more wraps here. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Get it nice and tight. 7, 8. Do one more for good measure. Okay. Now that we have this done, what we're going to do is we're going to make a big loop under the string, just like that. And you're gonna make 5 wraps inside this loop. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, 4, 5. Now we got 5 loops inside the string. We're gonna take this string and we are gonna wrap it over our tag end. So you see we're taking from this side and we're wrapping onto this side. So we're gonna take our 5 loops and we're gonna wrap all them out. And we're gonna have this tag end and we're gonna cinch it tight, just like that. Pull it nice and tight. Make sure both sides are nice and tight before you cut them off. All right, both tight. So now we are going to cut this serving off at about 3/8 of an inch. Don't cut it too low because we're going to have to burn it, and you want a nice tag end to burn. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to burn both ends. You just press them in with the back side of the lighter. Burn them right up to the edge of the serving and press them in. All right, we're looking good on this side. Now we're going to do the same exact thing we did here on the top of the peep sight. So we're going to lay our serving over our string. We're going to try and get as close to that peep as possible, and we're going to start wrapping over our serving. And again, I'm going to go for about 6 or 7 wraps, just like this. And once we get our 6 or 7 wraps, we will take the tag end of our serving and we will not wrap over it anymore. We're going to put about 7 or 8 more wraps in. And once we have that, we're going to make our little loop like we did before. And we are gonna put some wraps inside our loop, about 5 of them. So there's 1. Okay, so now we're gonna take our serving and we're gonna unwrap from this side and we're gonna wrap onto this side. We're going to get to our last one here, and this is going to pull tight. Just like that. And make sure both ends are very nice and snug. And then we're going to cut them off just like we did before. Leave about 3/8 of an inch to burn off, just like that. We're going to take our lighter and we're going to burn both sides. Okay. So you may notice now we have a lot of space in between our serving and our peep. So I'm going to show you a quick trick to tighten that up and make sure your peep doesn't come flying out when you shoot. One thing that is always handy to keep are your old bowstrings. They'll help you move the serving wherever you want it. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to wrap this bowstring around your existing string. Make sure it's nice and tight, just like that. Put it to the bottom of your serving, and then you're just going to pull up. And as you can see, it's moving that serving up towards the peep. So right there looks pretty good. And we are going to do the same thing to the other side. So we're going to tighten our old bowstring. We're going to take it and we're going to pull this piece of serving down. Perfect. Here's the end result. We're going to take our bow out of the press. We took that pressure off the string and our peep is laying perfectly. Nice and snug between those two pieces of serving. And make sure you stay tuned for the next video. We're going to put a D-loop on.